Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Workaway podcast. I'm your host, John Hindo, and today we have one of my best friends in the world on the podcast. He is a multi-time President's Club winner at TELUS Communications. He also won Top Sales Professional with the organization in 2021. Algonquin School of Business alum in the Business Marketing Program and recipient of the Changemaker Award. Here is my good friend, Mr. Alex Rangione.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you for coming on the pod. I figured you'd be a great guest to have. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about your journey into sales and, how it started at Weedman?
Yeah, absolutely. So that'll take us back quite some time. So I started my career in sales at the age of 16. Had a colleague and friend of mine who was working at Weedman Lawn Care at the time. And asked me if I was interested in a position in their sales force from a business development standpoint, going door to door in the middle of the winter for the upcoming lawn care season, collecting phone numbers and generating leads for our call centers. And from there, I was able to transition after graduating high school and join the Algonquin College School of Business in their business marketing program, which was a tremendous experience, which I'm sure we'll tap into more later. From there, got my first job in business-to-business sales, working for Xerox as an account manager, supporting their Ottawa market, as well as supporting some of their major accounts. And then after about a year and a bit at Xerox, I was able to transition to TELUS, where I've spent the past 6 years of my career supporting the mid-market commercial space in the Ottawa region.
Wow, 6 years, because you started at Xerox. When I started at Xerox, same agency, same company, was I think a year, or it was just after you had left and went to TELUS, right? Because it was 2020 during COVID. So,
Yeah.
Wow, 6 years ago. That's crazy how time flies. But why don't you talk to me a little bit about that transition from that B2C at Weedman and then moving into a B2B role within Xerox?
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously my time at Weedman started off obviously focused in the business to consumer market, going door to door, generating leads, interacting with customers face to face. And then I also had the opportunity to spend some time getting all aspects of that company from a service standpoint. I spent time working in the call center, so I would be the individual who would bring in leads and then filter into the call center, call the leads, et cetera. And then I also spent time running my own sales group at Weedman of a team of door-to-door representatives. I find the biggest transition when you move to a business-to-business role is the level of strategy and sales methodology that you put into supporting your accounts. They have complex needs. They have complex initiatives and challenges. And I think it just heightens the level of strategy that's involved in supporting a organization. I think there is a deeper emphasis on the relationship that you're able to foster with your clients. And I'd say that's the biggest transition. Obviously, there's a variety of business to consumer sales positions in the financial industry and other industries alike that have also a very great deal of emphasis on relationship as well. I would say those are parallel, heightened emphasis for sure on the relationship in the business-to-business space, but ultimately it's that level of strategy and how much deeper you need to get into the account from a planning and sales methodology perspective that I've found.
Mm-hmm. And because both worked at Xerox, we both worked in telecom. You with TELUS, me with Rogers, and I guess it's that shift when you went from Weedman to B2B is instead of, it like when you're doing B2C, it's all a numbers game, right? The more volume
Absolutely.
you put through, the more money you make. Whereas when you're in a B2B role, it's not necessarily those burn and turn, for lack of a better term. It's more the strategic, like, how can I actually give an effective solution to this company and establish that relationship, like you said, and then grow the account from there and continue to foster the relationship with your brand. So I 100% agree with you in that sense, going from the retail sales of the brewery and then going to, so talking about beer with people, I'm talking about, fiber optic internet and voice over IP, everything that you guys do over at TELUS as well. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point that you made, right? In my time in the business-to-business sales market, I've always worked as a named account manager where I have this defined list of organizations that I work to support. So it's definitely a big shift from, like you talked about, that turn and burn mentality that you'll see at other organizations, and obviously in the consumer market, there's this massive ocean. Not to say that there isn't a massive ocean in the business-to-business space, but in my particular role, when you have that list of named accounts, you really have to be strategic, and it's not just running on all cylinders at all times. It's definitely taking time to be strategic and methodical in your approach with your clients.
100%, because you're the face of that company for that client, right? So if they have a negative if they have a negative experience with you, then that you're the face of the company that you're representing, right? So then that may leave a sour taste in their mouth. So being strategic and really continuing to grow. Like I know you bring your accounts out to, you host them at Red Blacks games, at Sens games, right? You take them out for lunch, which, is more traditionally a method of the past is, taking your clients out to lunch because everything's virtual now. But you do a great job, in our conversations about, your work, do a great job of, actually building the relationship instead of just calling somebody to activate phone lines. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, perfect. And you have an interesting story too. Like we've been friends for a very long time, and going from, you were at you were an HVAC school to become an HVAC technician, and then, you've shifted over to become this, rock star at within the business marketing program at Algonquin. Let's not forget all of your different accomplishments. OCMC, BDC National Vaniers Cup, case competitions for the viewers that we both took part in when at our time in Algonquin. And so, what inspired you to make that move from HVAC to land on the business marketing program at Algonquin?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting transition, and I think that there are a lot of, young individuals who are potentially in a similar boat, right, where they're trying to figure out what path makes the most sense and may potentially 180 in a completely different direction. And so my journey, coming from a traditionally blue collar family, my brother's an HVAC technician. It seemed like a path that made sense for me throughout my time in high school, and I stuck along that path. Now, when I was nearing the end of high school and first joined Weedman Lawn Care, and had that first taste of sales, it was really one of the first jobs that I had in my young life and career that really got you excited. I think growing up playing a ton of sports had a competitive nature to me, liked being a part of a team and contributing to a broader goal. And so I think that those are the things that excited me. I did pursue ultimately the HVAC career path in post-secondary. And realized it wasn't for me. I'll be the first to admit, as a young man, it was a little discouraging.
Then that's fair, right? Like if you get it on the first shot, kudos to you. There are people out there like that, but for me personally, I tried like 4 different things before I realized I wanted to go to school and change it, right? So like, I absolutely agree that you need to try different things to figure out what your path is, and you definitely have found it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's definitely an important thing for everybody as they're going throughout their journey. And you and I both know people in our personal life that have tried a variety of different things and continue to work to find their path. I think it's a beautiful thing. And for me personally, it was getting to a point where I was able to pivot relatively quickly. Like there was minimal time. The program that I took for HVAC ran from September to February, so it was a condensed program at a trade school here in Ottawa. So I was able to take that time from, call it February to the following September. I went back to Weedman, spent some time there. And I think given my experience that I had at the company at that time, working in various different sales positions, finding success in them, enjoying the work that I was doing, led me to pursue a career in that realm of sales, right? But without knowing exactly what I wanted to do, whether it be real estate or business-to-business sales, financial service sales, what have you. I just wanted to grow in that space. And looking at the time at Algonquin College, I think obviously the college has evolved its programs over the years. At the time, they had a really good business marketing program that I think encompassed a lot of foundational skills for business marketing, and it also had some good sales courses in the curriculum as well. So I think that was the transition for me ultimately, and was an exciting one to say the least.
Yeah, and then going to Algonquin, like I remember, like in high school, me and you, we never were taking academic courses. We were always in kind of that applied stream, and going to Algonquin, you seem to have just excelled going to OCMC, which is an extracurricular case competition where you have 30 minutes to prep the presentation. No internet, no cell phone. You just have a piece of paper, a thumb drive, a laptop with your partner, and you're deciphering it. You're coming up with a 7-slide deck, 50-minute presentation followed by a 5-minute question period. And you actually did one of the more challenging ones as well, market research, which when I did OCMC was not my forte. But you were actually placed the highest that Algonquin had ever done in second place that year. And then you went on to compete at the national level. So what gravitated you towards these extracurricular activities and case competitions?
Yeah, so I remember it really clearly. It was in my first semester at Algonquin. We had alumni from the prior's year, OCMC and national marketing case comp team come by to the various classrooms within the business marketing, level 1 students. And essentially, they were promoting it, recruiting, and telling us all of
the pizza lunch.
Yeah. all the wonderful things that they had accomplished, right? And these were students just a year older than us in their journey. And I remember having a classmate that was also interested, and we were determined to make the team together and be partners through OCMC with the ultimate goal of finding success at the Ontario College Marketing Competition. And move on and make the national team and represent the college at the national level. I would say the thing that gravitated me towards OCMC and nationals as a whole is I think it's really where what you're learning in the classroom, like that's where the rubber meets the road, right? Mm-hmm. I think the program has a lot of great foundational skills and knowledge, and it's a great education. I think being able to put that into practice is something that Algonquin has excelled at within its own curriculum, but to have the extracurriculars was a key focus of mine. I think coming off my first post-secondary experience, going through the HVAC program, really had a strong focus on excelling in my studies. And wherever there was opportunity to invest time into self-growth, through extracurriculars, that was something I was keen on doing. Obviously, going through high school, like one of the other things I considered when I joined Algonquin was, playing on the rugby team that they have there because I enjoyed my time in rugby, in high school. But for me at the time, coming off the experience I just had, as previously mentioned, it was key for me to invest my extra time into self-growth within my educational journey. So that was crucial for me.
Yeah, and I guess working in that team competitive setting too, right? Like we played football together as well, won a championship. Shout out to St. Mark Lions football. Just won their first provincial title since 2006, I believe. So let's go, boys. But yeah, I think that really does speak to your character as well as keeping that competitive spirit, which is now translated over to your sales career, right? Because you want to be the best in the room, and rightfully so, right? Because if you're not selling, that's food off your table, right? You need to earn to be able to eat. So I think that competitive spirit really, really helped. And like for me personally, I mean, I didn't get to compete at the national level like you did because I didn't make the team. But I was able to do the provincial level in the prospect pitch category. And I think just for me personally, I thought I was a good presenter and good at public speaking before. But it brought like you, because you came back and coached the next year. And although I worked with Bill, who is like the master, just, Bill Garbarino, shout out to him as well. He was, so instrumental in coaching me. But you were like my secondary coach as well. You're kind of in the shadows in the background. I remember there were so many nights where you would come over and we'd just be practicing previous presentations, going through my intro, making, you'd give me a product and try and, give me the 3 problems, 3 solutions, right? The features and benefits. So I think that really speaks to it, which perfectly segues me into the next question, which is why did you come back and stay so involved in your years as a mentor and coach with Algonquin at OCMC and Nationals?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Yeah, I know. I remember my time coaching very fondly. Spent a solid 6 years coaching post graduation. I would say like going through the journey with the Ontario College Marketing Competition and Nationals, like it really is, especially at that point in your life, you're in your educational journey, you're about to embark on your career. It really is a humbling experience, as you kind of alluded to there, right? With going through the process and feeling, really confident in your skills. And, I think the process is really exciting to enhance those skills. I'd say from my standpoint, going through that journey was life-changing for me. And I wanted to be able to give back to that. I think it was a infectious level of excitement and competition that occurs in those events, and you make some really, really meaningful connections. Like still connected with, my classmates and peers from our 2018 team, connected with all the students that I've been able to coach over the years, right? I would say what kind of keeps you going, giving back to it is obviously the voluntary aspect of it, and being able to give back to the community that gave so much to you, I think was important to me. I found that it was a really great way to stay connected to the education that I took in school. Obviously, through the business marketing program, had a strong marketing focus, had some sales focus. I didn't pursue a career in marketing, but ultimately helps me stay connected to the education journey that I went through and be able to give back, like I said, to the students. I think it's important. And when I think about my experience and I think about the experience of the students that I've coached over the years, regardless of what level of success they've had on the podium at the competition per se, I think it's at the end of the day for me, it's always been about the experience they've had and that self-growth journey that you talked about, right? Where you start on week one of training in a certain spot, and where you end at the end of the journey from a training perspective, your skills are just through the roof, right?
Yeah, you weren't just like involved as a coach, just like what I would do is, meet once or twice a week with my group and then run through it. You were actively coaching, multiple groups and, going to every single classroom session with the coaches, with the faculty coaches as well. And just having such a deeply like rooted connection with the students. And like, for example, Ottawa Business Club, we had our networking event last night at Goldfinch, and one of our mutual friends, Brian came out to the event. Doug, one of the students from last year, he showed up to the event.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, and just like it's almost, it's unfortunately not happening this year. OCMC has just due to the colleges, we'll leave it there. But really, like last week, we Algonquin's doing an internal one called the Fastenal Sales Competition that I explained to you, right? And every single person that was guest judging, like me, Brian was there again, Jamie, former OCMC. There was actually one of the students' dads who did OCMC back in like 2001, 2002, like years ago, actually came and guest judged his son. And every single person that was one of the judges had done OCMC. And whenever we get together, I don't know about you, but for me personally, it feels like it's almost like I wasn't in a fraternity in college, but it feels like that fraternity of like brotherhood and sisterhood, because there's women there as well, but camaraderie amongst the team whenever you get together. And because what they've been through it as well. And like, I just found that the program, like OCMC especially, helped progress my, like when I went to in the level 4, because it happens in level 3, level 4, I was just a rock star. Like whenever they give you a task, you just knew what to do, right? Because it becomes second nature.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I think you touched on something that's important there. And we've talked about it with students year after year. It really is like a family. Mm-hmm. I think, it's one of those programs that with over 1,000 students in the School of Business and Hospitality at Algonquin College, we're talking about a program and extracurricular, shall I say, that touches 15 to 20 students. So the spread of how many students are involved isn't a ton, but the opportunity to represent the college at a provincial level or at a national level is so special. And I think that's what kept me so connected, is students that were given that same opportunity, wanting to be able to help them along their journey and share insights from mine, and ultimately lead them to whatever their goal was, whether that was finishing on a podium or, growing their skills or both or what have you. For me, whatever one of my students was willing to put in, I was willing to put in. And so that was, as you saw, tons of time spent. Had some really eager students over the years, Brian being one of my first ever students. So yeah. But I think that's what's kind of kept me coming back, is really that network and that family. And it reigns true today, as you mentioned, right? Like there's a massive network, and you're always able to connect on that. And I think it goes beyond just like what was fostered at Algonquin College from a Ontario college marketing competition or a Vanier BDC. I think when you're ever connecting with colleagues or professionals in the industry that also went through something similar at their respective post-secondary institute, you're able to connect on that case comp level as well. I think it's a whole community, and you make a lot of lifelong friends through that process.
Yeah, and it's like the speech that I gave, because I was fortunate enough to win my category in my year. And we placed first place overall as a college. I'm not gonna just not mention that. I remember the speech I gave when I said, I shouldn't have been, I wasn't supposed to, but I went on the mic and I said, we may be holding this first place award, but the real winners in this room are the students here that put in the extra time, that put in the extra hours, that got together, that were seeking something further than just the basic, not the basic, but the curriculum that's assigned to them. They were seeking more. And I remember I got a standing ovation, and every single year after when I started coaching, in my year, I remember that the coaches that saw me there would come back every year and say, that was one of the greatest speeches I've heard at this event. And we give that speech to our students before they get off the bus at the event. And I remember when I got my first job at Rogers, well, not my first job, my job at Rogers, being OCMC, because one of my buddies, Brendan, had gotten me the job there. And another friend of mine, Brian, a different Brian, was working at Rogers too, but did the same program, did OCMC, won his year. As soon as my manager saw it, he said, "Oh, you did OCMC like Brendan and Brian? You're hired." Right? So like there is that aspect of it can help differentiate you on a different level too.
I think it's so crucial, right? Like I think when you look at the amount of graduates, if you just look at the Ottawa region that are graduating with a business marketing diploma or degree, whether it's from Ottawa U or Carleton or Algonquin, like you're talking thousands of students. And I think, and then that's just in a given year. So over like a 4-year span, right? Like it's competitive out there, right? And I think that this is one of the bigger differentiators that you can have, is to be able to represent the college, like I said, at a provincial, national level. I think it's a huge differentiator, and obviously it paid dividends in your job search when you were just graduating, right? Which is one of the things that we always encourage students about is, like you said, it's not about where you finish on the podium. I think it's all about the experience and the fact that you invested the time to have that experience and that self-growth.
Exactly. So, we'll shift gears a little bit from the Algonquin and maybe start talking a little bit about the sales aspect of your career and, what you've done post-grad. So why did you decide to go the sales route instead of going, to a marketing agency or doing marketing at a company?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great question. I think from my standpoint, the program at Algonquin was very tuned to equipping you with all the knowledge and capabilities to do a lot of great work at a marketing agency level. Was definitely a consideration, but I think it goes back to the start of my journey, right? Where I spent time in a sales role at Weedman, starting off doing business development to actually bringing in revenue in the call center to running a team that was bringing in leads and then going in myself and calling those leads the next day and being a part of the sales cycle start to finish. That was such an exciting experience for me that that was the reason I went to Algonquin. So coming out the other side, it was always about joining the sales industry from day one for me personally. I would say the biggest things that have appealed me towards it is some of the things that we've talked about today. Is it is a very competitive nature. I think you're competing with other firms in the industry to win over clients. I think there's a great deal of excitement from a leaderboard perspective, right? Healthy competition within your organization. I think that keeps me coming back. And I would say the opportunity to proverbially be the CEO of your business, right? I think is a really exciting thing. When you work in a business to business sales environment like myself, and you have named accounts, like you're really running a book of business. And I think that's the biggest difference that attracted me to pursuing a career in sales. When I think about where my head was at in college and about to embark into my career, it was initially I was considering should I join the real estate industry, right?
I remember.
And talking around with some of the professors, getting perspectives, I think was one of the greatest benefits of my time at Algonquin, is the relationship I fostered with some of the faculty. And it was mentioned on more than one occasion that a career in corporate sales could make sense, and so that's the path that I explored. But yeah, I think there's just core elements to the sales industry that appealed to me more than going to a marketing agency, which I still think is an awesome career. But yeah, it's like I said, my journey's been really great since graduating in 2017, because I've been able to pursue my passion of being in the sales industry and supporting clients in the Ottawa market. But I'm also able to stay connected to that educational journey through my coaching at the OCMC and national competitions.
Yeah, and yeah, 100%. I've been out of the telecom game for a little bit now, and the B2B sales aspect of it as well, working here at Workaway. So what does the B2B landscape look like right now in Ottawa?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, when you talk about the Ottawa community as a whole, like it's fairly exciting, right? Like it is a smaller, tight-knit community. So I think about the way that you support your clients as an account manager or as a sales professional is crucial, right? Like I think it is a tight-knit community, as I mentioned, and your work will speak for itself. And I think being able to have integrity in the work you do and be passionate about the work you do, there's a really great group of clients that you get to support in the Ottawa region, whether that's in healthcare, education, or retail. And obviously Ottawa has a continuous growing, tech hub in Canada. It's an exciting market, and the ability to foster relationships in a meaningful way is great. Like a lot of my clients have been there since I started supporting them at TELUS. I have clients that I supported at my time at Xerox that when I went over to TELUS, was able to continue to support. So it's a really, like I said, it's a great experience, and I think there's a very big community aspect to it, which is exciting. And one of the great things that I'm most passionate about is, and one of the core reasons I joined TELUS as well, is their community involvement in all of the communities they support is always top of mind, demonstrated through our TELUS Days of Giving every year. The Ottawa team every quarter is out in the community, whether it's beach cleanups in the month of May to spending time at the food bank. So that community aspect is awesome, and we've had a lot of clients get involved in that outreach, right? So again, when I think about the Ottawa community as a whole in the business space, super exciting, super tight-knit community. So it's really exciting to be a part of. And for me personally, I would say being able to support clients in the city I live is something I take a ton of pride in.
And, with all these external kind of pressures that are coming about, with, politically things developing, in Ontario and Canada as a whole, Where do you see the market going in 2026 on the horizon?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Look, I'll be the first to say. Oh, I'm sorry, I won't be the first to say that 2025 wasn't a challenging year for our clients and businesses, across Canada, all around the world, right? I think there's a ton of economic uncertainty that existed throughout the year of 2025. I think when I take a look at what lies ahead in 2026, it does look exciting. I think we're seeing things in the economy shift a little bit. I think ultimately some of our clients are starting to look at what their plan is over the course of next year, but also over a 3-year plan, right? So I think it's just staging out a little bit more, as opposed to always having short windows. I think it's all about prioritizing at the end of the day, and what we're really looking to do in this marketplace is a lot of clients are trying to do more with less, and there's shifts in the technology landscape, right? Like AI is obviously a huge buzzword. And there's a lot of emerging things like that. That landscape is changing all the time. So I think what we're really trying to do is find paths for clients to, if they're going to make a change, right? We want to do things differently than we are today. Then let's do them differently tomorrow. And what is the quickest path to doing that and having a strong ROI, right? So amidst all of the, environmental changes, I think, we're talking economy, we're talking technology landscape. I think things are continuing to evolve. And so, yeah, a lot of optimism rolling into 2026 for a variety of different industries and sectors.
Yeah, like how can you support your clients essentially, right? Like how can TELUS serve you to help your company grow and help your company achieve their goals and ultimately do more with less, right? Which like can be non-conducive sometimes because, it's harder to do more with less. But I mean, it seems like you're doing a great job in, helping to advise your clients and, help them, ultimately see opportunity and help them grow, right? So that's great. Now, shifting from the market and, the organization, what differentiates you as a sales professional is what I really want to get to know. And, in that, so like what does a day-to-day look like for, multi-time President's Club winner, top sales performer 2021? Like how do you continue to grow as a sales professional?
Well, I can't tell you all the secrets, but no, it's a great question. Look, I would say
because the mold that you have may not necessarily fit someone else, but someone
exactly
else, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. At the end of the day, I think there's a lot of talented salespeople I've met in my career. I think they all have a different way of doing things, a different way of operating. And, I think when I was earlier on in my sales career, it was getting exposure to the sales training that was provided by Xerox, by TELUS, by colleagues in the industry from a mentorship perspective, where you can learn all of the sales methodologies that align at whatever company you're working at, and you can learn the strategy. And I think that there's so many good training courses out there that are available from like a tactics perspective, strategy and methodology perspective. I think the one thing that's really hard to teach someone is, it's that proverbial, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's the attitude and behavioral traits. And I think we talked about it, earlier today, right? It's when you are somebody who's naturally competitive, and you talked about wanting to be the top of the leaderboard. I think that for me has been a differentiator personally. I think also, and this is a core to TELUS's values is always being able to embrace change and adapt. I think that's also crucial from a differentiating standpoint as, we just talked about with the last question, there's just so much evolving and so much change. So I think the adaptability is key. But yeah, ultimately, I think those are the behavioral traits that, not just me, but anybody, right? That'll separate you is, you can't teach someone to be hungry, right? They have to want it. And I think that's something that I carry with me every day. When you think about the sales industry, it's, month over month, right? Like you're only as strong as your last month. I think for me, it's never stopping until the bell rings. And that's been one of my greatest differentiators. So yeah, I would definitely on the behavioral attributes side of things, and definitely on the adaptability and embracing change.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of leads me to, because like I'll call you 6 o'clock at night sometimes just shoot the shit, and we'll call, and you'll call me back. You won't you'll be busy, and you'll call me back and say, man, I was working so late last night. So what do you do, and what strategies do you have to work as hard as you do but not burn out? Because that's something that in my sales career I saw a lot, and I even felt at certain points, right? Like we all, like at a certain point something's got to give, right? So how do you kind of help prevent that?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I think this is something you see in a variety of different industries, right? And I think it goes back to, there's working hard, there's working smart, there's both. I think in this industry, you need to be able to invest your time properly, right? Obviously, you're investing into things that you're driving a meaningful outcome for your client, the company that you're working for, and yourself at the end of the day. And so I would say personally, for me, I prioritize my time accordingly in terms of, what I'm going to spend a ton of time doing. I'd say from a burnout perspective, one of the most important things, and going back to another one of our core values at TELUS, is just really embracing and spirited teamwork. At the end of the day, like you have a team of people. I know sometimes in sales it can feel like a little bit of the proverbial lone wolf, but you do have a team, and that's one of the things we're fortunate enough to have at TELUS, is we have a massive team that we're able to lean on. And I think when you're able to balance that out, truly, it definitely helps, right? Like there's a ton of stress, there's a ton of pressure, but when you're able to lean on your colleagues, prioritize your time, and ultimately you're working towards one common goal at the end of the day. And I think that's the other part, right? Like I think when I was thinking about where my next move would be when I was transitioning away from Xerox, it was wanting to work at an organization I feel extremely passionate about. And TELUS has such a strong focus in driving the right outcomes for Canadians from a health perspective, from a agriculture and food perspective, through the various business units at TELUS, from TELUS Health to TELUS Ag, and keeping Canadians connected to what matters most. Like I think those are things that are important, and also the community aspect of continuing to give where we live. Those are things I'm incredibly passionate about. And, amidst, like you said, like burnout and stress, it's being a part of a team, and it's working towards a common goal that I think is absolutely exciting.
Yeah, 100%. And keeping that balance and, checking on yourself 100%. And that was one of the biggest things that I found in my career, is that it's just sometimes you get burnt out. Like that's just how it happens. But being able to find those, and at first, like when you're starting at an organization such as TELUS, Rogers, anything that their end revenue or their top line ends with a B, basically, right? I find that it's at first trying to find that nice balancing act, but then as you slowly start to figure it out, you find things like, for me personally, like when I'm not working, or when I wasn't working on cars was what I found to relax me after, recharge my batteries, or going and seeing friends, which I know is a big thing for me, because you're always asking to hang out, which I like doing, just so everyone is aware. But yeah, how often do you check in with your clients?
Honestly, I would say it varies. I have some clients that I'm on the phone with multiple times a week. At a minimum, every single one of my clients will hear from me once every quarter. but it does vary. Like there are clients, as you know, multiple times a week, right?
Sometimes a day.
Yeah, sometimes a day, absolutely. So no, I think that goes back to the prioritization of time. This goes back to the level of complexity that a given account might have, and also you got to think about some of these organizations are big, so you're dealing with multiple different stakeholders. So yeah, it truly does depend, and it has ebbs and flows depending on what projects we're working on, right?
And how do you sharpen your skills as a sales professional as well? Like, how do you continuously grow? I know, and I'll start off with one that you told me when I started at Xerox, was every time you pick up and put down the phone is like reps at a gym, right? Everyone you do, you get stronger. So do you find it's just the act of doing things, doing meetings with your client, buzzing calls? Like what do you do to sharpen your sales?
Yeah, I would say overall, like we have a lot of great training programs available to us at TELUS. I mean, a lot of sales professionals just on the open market have a ton of
LinkedIn Learning.
Yeah, like there's so much content out there. I think it's really spending time analyzing your business and prioritizing where you need to focus, right? So like to your point, if it is a challenge that you're having as a young sales professional or at any point in your tenure, really, you're struggling with cold calling, right? Like you know what I mean? You're spending
PTSD right now.
Yeah. So, but you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you're spending time investing into that, right? Versus if like getting clients on the phone and getting meetings in your calendar isn't an issue, but it's something to do from a strike ratio perspective, right? Mm-hmm. Converting meetings into opportunities. Then like you need to spend time focusing from a solution selling perspective and doing discoveries to uncover information. I think if
knowing
you're
who you're talking to in these discoveries too, right? Yeah. What are you going to try to appeal to the financial side, to the operational side, like the IT side? What is you?
Yeah, and I think it's also the philosophy that you take at the end of the day. Like it's for me, it's never been about what can I sell you. It's always what can I solve for you, right? Like what are your challenges? And I think when you take that consultative selling approach, it definitely pays dividends. And going on from there, if it's a closing ratio thing. So there's so many different things. There's a lot of great books out there that I've read that have helped from a personal development perspective. Lots of great podcasts, lots of great content on social media.
Hopefully this one.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's there's a plethora of information out there. I just think it can be overwhelming at times. For certain people, you definitely just need to prioritize into, where you need to invest into your self-growth as a sales professional.
Perfect. Well, that was great, Alex. I have one more question for you, and then we'll end it off here. What did you think of the Leafs winning in OT last night? Because I know you're a huge Leafs fan.
Yeah, no, it's that was exciting. That was a tight game. Ultimately, big Leaf fan, comes with a lot of ebbs and flows emotionally. But good win. Team's battling through a lot of injuries. So it'll be exciting to see kind of where the rest of their season goes. I'm an eternal optimist when it comes to them. So
sure.
So we'll see what lies ahead. But awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for having me in today, guys.
Thanks for coming, brother. We really appreciated it. Again, if you like the podcast, please follow, subscribe, and you can, if you're looking for any telecom service needs, you can connect with Alex on LinkedIn, Alex Frangione.